So hi, I'm Jane Farnham of Great British Speakers, and I'm here today chatting to one of the preeminent cavers in the UK, Chris Jewell. Hi Chris, good morning to you.
Good morning.
Thanks for joining us today. Tell us a little bit about your life aside from caving before we get stuck right in.
So, well, I'm not cave diving. I work as an IT consultant. So I'm actually very much part of that kind of corporate world. And my life kind of revolves around spending my spare time going cave diving, trying to go on diving expeditions to explore and map new caves. And as I say, when I'm not doing that, I'm working in IT. I live down in Somerset, so right on my doorstep are some fantastic caves for me to go and practice my hobbies in.
Wow, okay, so talking about caving, obviously, how did you get into that? Because I know lots of us start diving and then, maybe do a wreck but cave diving, talk me through it.
Yeah. So actually, I started dry caving as a sport at university. So a lot of people get into the sport of caving through university or university caving clubs. It's a really important route for people into the sport. They're absolutely hooked on kind of visiting caves and exploring caves. And I was lucky to be part of some cave expeditions, some exploration expeditions to Austria in 2002. I've been caving actually for about 20 years now. 20 years as of this October. But my love of caving then led me to cave diving. And cave diving is generally, certainly in the UK, a niche within the sport of caving. And cave diving is how cavers typically pass flooded sections of cave to go on and explore cave, for cave and the further reaches of caves. So I think cave diving is often a tool to further our exploration goals.
Wow, God, it sends shivers up my spine. The thought of diving in dark water at any time. So tell me about the cave rescue organisation that you're involved with and how does that fit into your work-life balance?
So there's been a volunteer search and rescue organisation in the UK since the 1960s. It's very much about cavers rescuing cavers. So it's all volunteer search and rescue, like a lot of the search and rescue in the UK is. There are teams spread all over the UK. Wherever there are caves, there will be a cave rescue team who go out and help cavers who are in trouble. So sometimes those rescues can be kind of small and straightforward, and sometimes they can be large, really high-profile rescues that involve large numbers of volunteers and take multiple days. We saw a large rescue relatively recently in South Wales, which had hundreds of people involved from teams all over the UK taking part to bring an injured caver out. And effectively, everybody as a volunteer gives up their free time and asks their employer very nicely if they're able to go and be deployed should something happen. And thankfully, all of our employers are generally pretty understanding and appreciative of the fact that people are volunteers, and when somebody's life is at stake, it's the right thing to do is to give up your time to go and render assistance.
It's very admirable. Now, you were involved, if anybody didn't know, in one of the most high-profile cave rescues ever undertaken. So give me a bit of background into that and how you happened to be there and the situation itself.
Yeah, absolutely. So in 2018, 12 boys and their football coach were trapped in a flooded cave in Thailand. The Thai authorities realised they needed outside assistance, and because of some individuals already in Thailand who knew the UK caving organisations very well, the UK Cave Rescue Organisation was contacted. Two of our divers were deployed straight away. And then as events unfolded out in Thailand, it became clear that we needed to send additional personnel. I'm actually the diving officer for the British Cave Rescue Council, so I was in touch with the first two members of our team when they were deployed to Thailand, effectively on standby should they need extra help, in the rescue. So when it reached that point, I flew out there to be part of the rescue team, and it really was a unprecedented situation. There were, in terms of that many people trapped in a cave of this nature, a flooded cave, and a flooded cave with a huge distance between the entrance of the cave and the point at which the boys were stuck. So it was something like 1.5 kilometers of underwater passage, or flooded passage, I should say, that we had to negotiate. 50% of the time we were swimming on the surface and underground river, but 50% of the time we were completely submerged. So the sort of distances involved and the difficulty was completely unprecedented. And to have that many people in a situation like this was, completely unheard of. So we had to deploy and come up with some very novel solutions for a way to bring those boys out. And you know what? I think this is a rescue which, at the time and still today, still captures everybody's imagination. It's still an inspirational story, and it still, I think, touches everybody's kind of pulls at everybody's heartstrings, if you like. It involves, the innocent children, the boys that were stuck in the cave, and of course, any parent will instantly feel the draw of that story to kind of understand, the significance of these boys' lives that were in jeopardy. And then, it involves caves and flooded caves, which for a lot of people are, people's kind of worst nightmare. And of course, we had a miraculous and incredible outcome. We managed to get all the boys out alive.
It's amazing, an absolutely remarkable story. I mean, so just to remind me, they'd gone into a dry cave and then the cave flooded. Is that correct?
That's correct. Yeah, they'd gone into a dry cave. It was on the boys' birthdays. The cave had then, or rather, there'd been lots of rain in Thailand on that particular day. So, in Thailand there's a monsoon season, and this was right on the transition between the dry season and the monsoon season. And unluckily for them, they were there right at the end of that dry season. The monsoon rains came a few weeks early, and when the rains come very, very hard in that part of Thailand, the large catchment area, the large mountains behind the cave take an awful lot of water, and they funnel it down into the cave, and that cave can react and flood quite quickly. And so their route out of the cave was entirely blocked by rising floodwater. So they turned around, tried to leave the cave, found the water would come up, and they retreated deeper into the cave till they found a safe place to wait the floods out.
Wow, well, a remarkable achievement from all of you involved. Now, how did you move from, your life as an IT consultant and a cave diver and part of the rescue team into speaking?
So interesting. So speaking is something I've always enjoyed doing. So for many years, I've given presentations and lectures on the cave exploration projects that I've been part of. But obviously, the rescues given an extra story for me to talk about, some extra attributes and aspects of caving and cave exploration, which resonate with a lot of audiences. I always believed that caving and cave diving demonstrates some wonderful examples of teamwork and collaboration, innovation, and the rescues are really an extension of all of those skills. We were able to effect this incredible rescue not because we'd trained for many, many years for cave rescues, but because we spent many, many years going on caving and cave diving expeditions and been involved in cave exploration. So used to working as a team, collaborating, innovating, problem solving, being very resilient, lots and lots of aspects to our personalities and to the kind of the thing we do as a hobby, which lends itself very, very well to people outside the world of caving and cave diving. And I think there are an awful lot of lessons in what we do in caving and cave diving, an awful lot of lessons in what we had to do in that rescue, which resonate and which transfer out, into some day-to-day life and, certainly into organizations and businesses. So the opportunity to tell the story of the rescue, pick up all those wonderful takeaways, give people all those great themes and ideas which work in terms of businesses and organizations, but also tell what is, I think, a really inspirational story. And certainly whenever I give a presentation, people come up to me and they say, that was fantastic. That was a great story. That was really uplifting. But you've also given me some great ideas. You've given me some fantastic things to think about in terms of the way in which I approach a situation.
So there's lots of takeaways for the audience in terms of resilience and motivation and inspiration to, apply to their own lives. But finally, let me just ask you, what gives you when you're talking about your experiences and you're speaking to audience, what gives you the biggest buzz about speaking?
So I guess partly I quite like a bit performing a little bit. Actually, I've learned that something over the last few years. I do actually enjoy performing. I do enjoy being up there on the stage or virtually, telling the story. So I quite like that aspect to it. But actually, it's also the buzz and the engagement I get back from the audience. So if I do a good job, and hopefully I do, then the audience gets a lot out of it. There's a real buzz there. Certainly usually a complete silence when everybody's hang on every word I say in terms of telling this particular story. And then afterwards, all the questions that come in, and typically when I do a talk, we run out of time for answering questions, right? So there's so many aspects of this rescue that are interesting. There's so many questions that people have, and I find all those questions coming in at the end really fantastic. They add an awful lot to the process. It's great to hear everybody being so interested in what we did and taking so much from the story.
Well, Chris, it's been absolutely inspiring chatting to you. Thank you so much for your time today.
No problem. It's lovely speaking to you, Jane.
And if you'd like to book Chris, simply contact myself or Steve at Great British Speakers on 01753 439 289, or you can email us bookings@greatbritishtalent.com.